Welcome to my channel. It's called Lunasa. In this channel, we do a deep dive into the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn. In this video, let's talk about one of her iconic ideas, which is that you get exactly what you're giving. It's like well, the law of cause and effect, the law of oneness, they all fit in well with what Florence is talking about. That what you experience in life is directly connected to you, and it's directly connected to the words you speak and the vision you have for yourself. Now, I want to encourage you to take some time, maybe at the end of today or the end of the week, and just go over what you're thinking. Think about what you're thinking about. Think about what you're thinking about when it comes to your career, when it comes to your job, when it comes to job hunting, job search. Think about what you're thinking about when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your marriage, when it comes to your partner, when it comes to your children. Think about what you're thinking about when it comes to your bank account, when it comes to your business, when it comes to all these things. Think about the words that you're using, the jokes that you're making. Think about the offhanded comments. Think about the thoughts that filled your mind before the sense of dread, or the thoughts that filled your mind before the excitement. Think about all of these thoughts. Put them down on paper. Create a column over here, personal, over here, work, over here, this, over here, that, and just list all the thoughts that you can think of. It can be a little hard because those thoughts come into your mind and then they go. Sometimes they come in real quick and they go real quick. Those are called negative automatic thoughts. But sometimes you can remember them. And if you can, write them down. If you can remember the exact words you're speaking, that's a good thing. If you can remember the gist of it, that's a good thing too. Start thinking about what you're thinking about. Start writing down and being very open with yourself about how you're speaking about all the aspects of your life. Start writing them down, especially, and seeing them on paper. Oh, this is what I'm saying. Oh, this is what I'm saying about this, about that, and just actually have them written down. And then on another piece of paper, write down what you see. What kind of visions do you see? What kind of dreams do you have? What do you look up and that you hope you see? What are you just the visual part and the spoken part? Just make an accurate summary of what you're doing. Why? Because Florence is adamant that those things are resulting in it, your experiences, that those things are shaping your experiences. Maybe even go back. What were you saying last year? What were you saying last summer? What were you saying last January? Maybe it took some time to pan out. Go over all that you were saying. Go over those things. Go over what you're saying in the argument or the discussion this morning. Go over them, write it down. Maybe a short term summary of your ideas and thoughts and jokes and opinions, and then a long term description of what you're doing, of what you're saying, and what you are thinking, and what you are seeing, and what your vision is. What did you hope for? What did you wish for? What are you saying is the most important thing. And again, Florence believes that there is a 1-to-1 ratio. What you say, what you imagine, starts to show up in your life. Now, let's get into one really cool example. In her chapter called Love, she meets this wife who is annoyed with how bad her marriage has gotten. She actually says she knew a woman who had a very nice husband and who had often said, I don't care about being married, but that it's nothing against my husband. I just don't want to have married life. She had other interests and scarcely remembered her husband. She only thought of him when she saw him. And one day, her husband told her that he was in love with someone else and left, and she became in such great distress. And Florence said, it is exactly the word that you spoke for. You said you didn't care for your husband. You didn't care to be married. So the subconscious mind worked to get you on to married. And she replied, oh, I see. People get what they want, and then they feel very much hurt. And soon after, she became in perfect harmony with the situation, and she knew that they were much happier apart. So start to really identify what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're joking about, the statements you make about the different areas of your life. Like, write down the areas of your life that matter to you and write down those ideas, those thoughts, those jokes, those opinions, the offhanded comments, write them all down. And then think about, how is this actually playing out in my life? How is this actually playing out in your life? Did it show up? Is it showing up? Think about what you said last year. Think about what you said last fall, last summer, last winter. See if it's paying off, seeing if it's coming to fruition. Like I said, sometimes these ideas immediate results and sometimes they take time. So start thinking about what you have thought and what you have said, because this is exactly what you spoke the word for. That is Florence's promise to you. Now, the most iconic thing about her book is how she starts it, the game of life and how to play it. She says that life is a game, it's not a battle. It's a game, however, that can only be played successfully by understanding spiritual law, and the Old and New Testaments give the rules of this game with wonderful clearness. Jesus Christ taught that it's a great game, an epic game of giving and receiving. Whatsoever a man giveth, so shall he reap. And this means whatever you send out in word or deed will soon return to you. What you give, you will receive. And we're also taught that the imagining faculty plays a leading part in the game of life. So keep your heart, your imagination, your mind with all diligence, for out of it are all the issues of life. And she goes on in chapter 1 to say, whatever you imagine sooner or later externalizes in your affairs. She goes on at the very end of chapter 1 to say that the words have the ability to change the conditions of your life. So you have to be so careful about what you're imagining. You have to be so careful about what you're saying, what you're thinking. Florence even says, your jokes matter too. The universe has no sense of humor. It takes you seriously. So definitely pay attention to what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're believing, what your perspective is, and write them down. Get it out on the paper, and then think about it though. You might be able to connect it to what's going on in your life. What you said in the summer and the fall, it panned out now. But if it's just something that you're thinking today or this week, it may not have panned out. So I have this challenge for you. When you look at your list, is this what you want to have happen in your life? Would you like it if your life was like, if this externalized in your life? Would you like it if your life looked like these words, if these words came in physical manifestation? Would you like these words to begin something in your life? And if the answer is no, start changing your words. Start speaking differently. Start moving differently with how you are joking, with how you're believing, with how you're thinking. Start speaking different words. For whatever Florence says, she always makes it clear that when you start speaking differently, when you start thinking differently, when you start believing differently, things will start to change towards the new beliefs, the new words, the new thoughts, the new ideas. So there is always a possibility to change things. But you actually have to start speaking differently. You have to start thinking differently. You have to start dreaming differently. Start joking differently. But give yourself an honest assessment and then say, do I want this to manifest? Do I want this in my life? And if the answer is no, start speaking differently. And sometimes you may have to just find the words because you don't really believe them right now, but you just find the words and start speaking them into your life. That's fine. Just start doing it differently and then watch as the beliefs start to build and the universe and God start to prove you true, because that's just the way it works. There's a really great video by Abraham Hicks. It's one of my favorites. It's called The Biggest Missing Piece. And I think I'll leave it in the link. I'll leave it in the description box. And Abraham Hicks, at the end of this whole thing, they say to the person, is this what you want to have happen? Is this what you want? Because it's not what we're about, and it's not what you are about either, or else you'd feel joy in the having of it. The universe isn't going to come and prove you wrong. The universe isn't going going to come and give you something different. Your subconscious mind is the power that helps everything manifest. It's a power that gets things done. It's not going to challenge you. These words that you're speaking get down into your subconscious mind. So you might want to realize that. These limiting beliefs, these jokes, everything gets down into your subconscious mind. And one characteristic of it is that it never tells you no. It never says that's a bad idea. You don't want to do that. It never challenges you. It's incapable of doing that. It gets the ideas and it goes with it. It gets the ideas and it runs with it. So Abraham Hicks, they said, you will never be told no, you'll never be proven wrong. Like, it's always a yes. Like, whatever that words, ideas, it's always a yes. Then the question becomes, is this what you want to be proven true? When you realize that these are the ideas that are getting down into your subconscious mind, you start to wonder, is this what I want to be proven as true? And if it's not, you will research affirmations. You will research books who can tell you how to think differently, just to give you an example, and how to believe differently and how to want different. Because sometimes you're so used to your negative belief systems, you're so down on yourself, you're so frustrated that you can't even think of a nice thing to say about yourself or your future, and you might need someone's words to help you out. But yeah, look at these words, and if you don't want them to happen, if you don't want this to be true, start speaking differently. Florence loves this idea. It's how she started the whole book, her legendary The Game of Life and How to Play It. She's very clear that whatever you imagine, whatever you say, whatever you're dreaming of, all of those things, so whatever you think, whatever you speak, sooner or later externalizes in your affairs. If you trust her, then you start changing the way you think. You start changing the way you speak. You start changing the things that you're doing when it comes to your beliefs about the things that matter in your life. And I think she's very trustworthy. So I would encourage you to give it a chance. Get that piece of paper and write it down. Write it down on your computer. Just write it down and start looking at what you're saying, and then realize sooner or later these things externalize in your affairs. And if you don't like it, start to think and speak differently. In this channel, I do a deep dive into the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn. In this video, I talked about The Game of Life and How to Play It, but she wrote several other books. Florence was a metaphysical New Thought writer who worked in like 100 years ago, and her ideas are as powerful, as fresh, as relevant as ever, and it's really good to bring her ideas to us right now so we can think about them and learn from them and contemplate them, because there is a power that remains no matter if the book is 100 years old, and it's just really special, and that's what I focus this channel on. So if you're new to Florence, I will introduce you to her ideas. If you are a long-time reader of Florence, I will remind you of ideas and give you a new perspective. If you want to read along, I always put the links to her books where you can read yourself in the description box. But if you like these kinds of videos, if you want it on your subscription feed and you want to be reminded of her ideas and get a fresh perspective on Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, then please subscribe to my channel. If you have a comment, please leave a comment. I do see them and I do reply, so it's a great way to reach out to me. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You let me know that you like this particular content, and so it's something I can think about when I'm making and planning more videos. As always, I always say this, as always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.